So I'm going to bring on Pete Blaber now, and we're going to talk Ukraine, everything Ukraine. Hello, my friend. How you doing?
Good. How you doing, Todd?
Oh man, busy day, but wow, the whole chessboard overnight has changed on Ukraine. The U.S. Tammy Bruce at the State Department came out and said we're not going to mediate anymore. I think that was due to the mineral deal being signed. I think the U.S. got what it wanted, and now it's going to let the chips fall and focus on China. What say you?
I agree. I'm in part hopeful, but it seems like strategically what Trump's trying to do is uh, provide a rational reason, show everyone why we need to pull out of Ukraine, pull all Americans out. And I
Yeah.
think, the negotiations have already shown that Ukraine's certainly not flexible toward the demands Russia's been making for the last 2 years. And given that, there's no pathway to peace. And if that's the case, we should do the right thing, which is pull all Americans out and stop contributing to the war.
So the mineral deal, I think, in Trump's view, and I think even I don't know who said it was Rubio or somebody that this actually gives leverage against Russia because we're there to harvest the minerals now, basically, and for any. So I guess the question is there going to be any future military aid? I mean, I think I saw a $50 million package last night get signed. I don't know what that entailed. It said military support supplies or something. So who knows? But what do you think? Are we going to continue funding this war, or is Trump going to let it go? Because if he's got a stake in the deal on the ground for the minerals, he's probably not going to let it go. What do you think?
Well, he almost has to. He's already said it repeatedly, this is not my war.
Mm-hmm.
It's Joe Biden's war, which is very true. We
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't even call it the Ukraine war. We should call it Joe Biden's war.
Yeah.
But he's already said that. He's already committed to that. So for him to go back on that, not only would it show he could not bring peace to Ukraine, which, initially he said one day. I think that was not, you can't take Trump literally, especially when he was on the campaign trail about peace. He meant
Right.
as soon as I get them both to the table, I can do it in a day.
Yeah.
Well, that hasn't happened. We're 100 days in, and without being able to accomplish that, he's just it's going to make him look like this is his war, and he will lose all his leverage with Russia. The
Mm-hmm.
only reason Russia's listening to the United States is because of Donald Trump. Putin is very savvy about world affairs, and he was savvy about what happened in the 2020 election. And of course, he watched Trump, the repeated assassination attempts against Trump. Didn't take anyone with inside knowledge to understand those were being organized. They were not random. So he
Yeah.
admires him, sees him, as you just said in your segment before this. Uh, there's so many things, natural things that make it make sense for Russia and the United States to become close allies here,
Mm-hmm.
given especially what you just said about the rest of the European continent.
Yeah.
And what's happening in Germany alone is just disgusting.
Completely agree. I'm going to play this video of Kellogg, General Kellogg, retired, his comments, which are seemingly complete opposite of Trump, and then we can talk about it. So here we go.
Russia's not winning this war. Russia has not made any major advances in the last year and a half. They haven't taken the city of Kyiv, the capital. They haven't pushed to the west of the Dnieper River, which is a major obstacle. They haven't taken Odessa. They've lost hundreds of thousands of soldiers, and they haven't really moved anything. It moves by meters, not by miles. And the Ukrainians are fighting on their own soil. They're fighting hard.
So he's got a complete opposite take, don't you think?
Yeah, it's very concerning. That first, just it's factually wrong, but
Yeah.
it's very concerning because he's the lead negotiator now, and what credibility does anyone think he has right now with Russia after what he just said? And You can pull it apart very simply as far as terrain in the first 2 months of 2025. The Russians gained 151 square miles of terrain. You can look at that on commercial satellites, and that's about seven Manhattan Islands. Kursk alone was 390 square miles. So they've taken back Kursk, 390 square miles. He said they're not taking by miles, they're taking, by kilometers. So it's very concerning that he's saying that. And, Todd, I was concerned about him from the beginning. I heard, next time we talk, I'll send you the clips because I found them last night after I looked at what he said right there when he first took over, and you could tell this was not a Ukraine expert. This was not someone who understood the history of what happened over there. Which goes back hundreds of years, but certainly from 2013 forward. And so, there's a part of me that says there's some intellectual laziness here. When you get tasked to be the negotiator for something like this, the first thing you should do is totally immerse yourself in the facts. And it does not sound like he has done that. What he just regurgitated there were talking points, and again, they're inaccurate. He went on. There's an article that was published in the Voice of Ukraine, I think it's called, and in it, he lists. Yeah, there you go. He lists all the reasons why the war. You can go ahead, scroll down a little bit because there's some unbelievable things he says in there. And they're counterproductive because no one needs to delude Zelensky anymore. He's already self-deluded, and then he has the whole EU chirping in his ear, telling him, "You're winning, you can do this." And he has the American Democratic Party doing the same thing, which is not in the best interest of the Ukrainian people or the country of Ukraine itself. So again, very, very concerning. You can look at one of those comments on there is one of the talking points that, we heard Cavoli say, we
I
heard
was going to
Hodges
say
say.
that was exactly like Cavoli, and maybe people can't see this thing, but it said there's some parts of the Ukrainians I don't like, but no final position will satisfy everyone. He's talking about the deal. That's normal. We're in a pretty good spot, very comfortable where we stand. Russia should recognize the shifting circumstances. What circumstances? There's no, I mean, it's shifting in Ukraine's against Ukraine, if anything. And he says they are very, very ready to strengthen their support for Ukraine, talking about the UK and France. I mean, they just said they can't even deploy more than 25,000 troops to the
Right,
area. So
right.
that's just a pittance. That can't do anything. It'd just be a tripwire than anything. Right?
Yep. Yeah, and he in there also, if they went down a little further, he says, we've developed an elaborate 22-step plan with Ukraine. And I just, shook my head. An elaborate 22-step plan? Well, then we're good. If you've already put together a 22-step plan. The other talking point he said that's the same as all these guys is, first in that article, he says out, bottom line up front, he says Russia cannot win. Not Russia's not
Right.
winning. Russia cannot win. And then he lists the reasons, and one of them is this talking point. Ukrainians are going to fight they want to fight to the last Ukrainian. They're fighting for their homeland. And again, the only way you believe that is if you don't, is back to that intellectual laziness. If you don't understand that the battlefield is a battlefield that is the home of ethnic Russians who have already voted for autonomy and independence. And they did that because they were forced to by what was really a military genocide led in large part by the neo-Nazis. So to say that these Ukrainians, they'll never give up, they're fighting, that's not genuine. That's like if Hawaii voted for independence and we had American military over there fighting in Hawaii, and someone saying, and we were losing, getting wholesale destroyed, and someone saying the Americans will never give up because Hawaii is their homeland, and so he just does not understand the ethnic makeup, or again the history of what's happened over there,
I mean,
especially in those oblasts.
yeah, exactly. The four in Donbass. I mean, maybe that would be true if they were marching on, Marchinkova or West Ukraine, where it's Polish and a whole different population, but it's not. I mean, what people don't understand is Ukraine's a very ethnic, multifaceted country. There are a lot of different groups: Hungarians, Polish, that whole Polish Empire to the west, and then you have
Right.
in the east you have the Russian influence. But the war's not in the west; the war's in the east. Yeah, there's missile strikes in Kiev and other places, Lviv, or ammunition dumps and that kind of thing. But they're not invading that area, and I don't think they have the force structure to even do that. I don't think Putin wants that. I think he wants what he wants, which is those four territories, and there's minerals there. It's resource based, of course, and that's what Trump is trying to get a piece of that, obviously. Pete, can you stay for one more segment? I need to take a break. Can we come right back? All right.
So we are in the factory in Kentucky. This is Alp World HQ, and we are at the end of the packing line. So I'm going to show you how it works. We have the card, throw it in there. There's a packing slip, and then you have the Alp. And 4, but that seems honestly like a lot. 3 now, but it's good. You just pack a punch that, for a normal nicotine brand, it'd be like 8. We think 3 is fine. Next one. Again, 4. Let's throw 3 in just to keep it fair. Okay? There you go. So you can see you can get fast at this. And really, it's just a matter of repetition. This is kind of the assembly line that, Henry Ford devised so long ago.
Tucker, stealing all the Alp because...
Your government doesn't care about you. That's why you need a medical emergency kit. It contains life-saving medications like ivermectin, Z-Pak, and antibiotics. Stock them before they block them.
Hey, Pete, you sent me an article yesterday on Marcus Luttrell, and let's talk about that. I dug into a little bit. Let me just bring it up. Comes clean about the lone survivor, movie and book and all of that. What did you take away from this?
Well, I'm glad he finally came forward. Not sure when that book came out, like 2010 or something like that. It's been out a long time. Mm-hmm. And there's a number of other books out there that have already been proved to be fictitious, that hundreds of thousands of people have read. And so, to most military veterans, the main issue is when you put out a book that's not true and is just fabricated truth, not just some little detail switch, but the whole thing is just fabricated. You deny your fellow warriors the freedom to learn from what happened. And that, and it's not just warriors, it's civilians too. Our freedom of choice to learn, which is, an evolutionary right. Without it, we can't survive. So, from the beginning, his book and the movie, I read his book when it came out, and I put it down about 100 times and was just like, this is just so wrong, because you can tell he made it up. And back to that freedom of choice to learn, there's at least 3 fundamental things in that book, that mistakes that were made that should have been called out, that everyone who read that book or watched the movie or talked about what happened should have talked about and internalized. And the first was, he's he and his team were a small boat team, I think they were called, uh, and out of Hawaii. And so this mission they were on was strategic reconnaissance. It was a sniper reconnaissance mission that I would put at the PhD level because it was up in the mountains, super rough terrain, no friendlies anywhere nearby, no QRF that could reach out uh, and support you if needed. Really difficult mission, and that should have been called out, and someone should have been held accountable. Why did you send this team, which is completely unsuited for that mission, on that mission? The
Yeah, because
second
there was
thing,
a really bad consequences to that mission in the end because we lost
right,
a Chinook and then a bunch, a whole helicopter full of operators, highly trained
30,
operators.
30 men. And so, and then the second thing is, so they did the infiltration. It's a mountain infiltration on the CH-47. The team came in, they fast roped in. The 47 accidentally cut the ropes. So the fast ropes, which are, about that thick, and
Yeah.
each rope weighs, hundreds of pounds. I don't know what length they had, but hundreds of pounds. Those dropped to the ground. So if you had a bunch of sniper reconnaissance guys here and you were giving them a test and you said, what should you do now? There's only one answer. It's mission abort right there, because you can't leave your ropes behind you.
Because they know
Everyone
you're
could
there.
hear a helicopter.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's number one. The second thing that happened was they were compromised by a goat herder. A goat herder walked up on them, and in the book, Luttrell says I got in an argument with the team leader because me and the rest of the guys wanted to kill him, which is, again, if you had that sniper reconnaissance panel, just the fact that goat herder compromised them. Every goat herder in Afghanistan actually has a cell phone on them.
Yeah.
The mission's compromised right there. It's not a question: do you kill the goat herder? It's mission abort right there,
Yeah.
and that's a massive lesson. In fact, in most special operation interviews, it's a test question, and they substitute different scenarios. What would you do if a little girl compromised your team? Guys who say I'd kill the little girl or tie her up and leave her, they flunk. But in that book, what he encourages is, hey, we should have shot that goat herder. They're on a recon mission. They're not on a killer capture or a neutralized an atomic
So
bomb
you think,
mission.
I mean, what happened in, I don't know the full story, but in the movie they let the guy go and he goes and warns, and then the army comes against them.
Yeah.
What that would have happened either way, right? I mean,
Well, exactly. That's why
yeah.
it's abort criteria once you're compromised. But these guys had no clue of that. They've never been trained at strategic reconnaissance. So, it was like a caveman being asked to fix a rocket ship. And then, the third part was everything that happened after that was a result of not aborting the mission. His entire team was killed. In an interview he did right when he got back before the book was written, he told Anderson Cooper, "Look, I lost it. I threw my weapon down and ran for it." And that's actually on the military chain of command knew that. That's on a Predator tape. It shows him running away. And, forget about the, cowardice and all that. There's also a lesson there. There is a time, the most important decision any of us make, survival decision, is should I stay or should I go? And for military guys, again, strategic reconnaissance guys talk about this all the time. When in doubt, bolt. It's a legitimate course of action, and again, for lesson learned for people looking at it, maybe the whole team should have done what he did and just ran for it, because they were far outnumbered. They were in terrain they had no chance. They knew nothing about. These guys live up there. They know every rock, how to
Yeah.
get up and down the slope the most efficient way. So, these books that are completely fabricated in order to make money do a real injustice to not just fellow warriors, but all the civilians who read the book, and all the future warriors who read these books, and that's probably the biggest population of all.
So, me being on the other side of that as a helicopter pilot, JSOC, flying you guys around. I mean, that there should have been somebody on alert to come get these, like a QRF, like you said. I mean, so they should have, in your mind, gotten to higher ground, which they tried to do in the movie. But I don't know.
Yeah,
You're
the
saying they
movie,
should have evacuated to higher ground and got comms going and got some kind of evacuation exfil, right?
right? In the movie, you can't fault the movie. Movies, to make a movie, you have to have a little bit of artistic license.
Of
So
course.
I go by the book, what he wrote in the book, which sold millions of copies. And you're absolutely right. The 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 key points in there are brought out, and to not call them out and not learn from them is doing a disjustice.
Well, from a command perspective, if you've got, if we infilled a team, then, there would be, it was just written in the operation, how would we get them out? If that failed, who was going to go in? I mean, how would it happen? What assets and whether it's, Navy on a carrier or whatever. I mean, there was always something there to get them out.
Well, there was a QRF that's what crashed. But
right. I
again,
realized.
a major error by this team when the ropes were left.
Yeah.
They, as far as I know, they did not call back. I know they didn't call back and say, "Hey, you dropped the ropes." So that means two things: not only mission abort criteria, but it means you cannot go back and use that HLZ. That
Yeah.
HLZ is compromised. Well, guess what? That's where the MH-47 QRF was trying to come in and land at again, and that's
Really.
where they got shot down by an RPG and 30.
Because they were just sitting there waiting, right? I mean, because
Exactly.
yeah,
They found the ropes. They were probably trying to haul them out. It was it's a gold mine for some Afghan farmers.
sure.
But they were there, all the insurgents, and the 47 came into the same spot. So it's all these lessons that go unlearned, and they go unlearned because someone is fabricating the truth in the name of profit. And one of the good things I think he said in there was he talked about the fact that it was a Navy admiral who pushed this whole thing, and he was the guy in charge. I think his name was McGuire. He was the guy in charge, and of course, that's the step one of any leader who has a catastrophe or a disaster while he's in command. Covered up, and the way you cover it up is cloak it with glory, cloak it with awards,
Yeah.
and that's pretty disgusting too.
Well, they were. I
Uh,
mean, the I think the command was watching all this on live, real time when
right.
it was going down. I remember hearing about it when it happened, just because that was my business, like. But so you're saying essentially they should have contacted the infill ride and said, "Come back and get us because we're compromised."
Right off the bat. As soon as the ropes were down, they should have. And the team leader had a cell phone. He didn't
Mhm.
pull that out until they were apparently. It's hard to say when he pulled it out because now that I'm thinking about it, that was from the book and all
Yeah.
made up. So at some point, he pulled it out and called and said, we're under attack. We're a couple of guys are dead. Come
Yeah.
get us. And that's when they launched. But he should have, again, just what you're saying, any strategic reconnaissance team, talks about these contingencies. Okay, what happens if we drop the ropes? Mission
Yeah.
abort. What happens
Yeah.
if we're compromised? Mission abort. And,
Yeah.
mission abort, then set up the SATCOM radio and call back to the rear. which they didn't need his cell phone. They could have used their radio both of those times, but they didn't. And so by not aborting the mission when the ropes were cut and not calling back to the rear to inform them that, that HLZ was totally compromised, not only did the team get killed, but all 30 of those fine warriors on the helicopter died also.
When they came back in to get him. Pete, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And let me know when you want to come back, because I always love hearing from your insight and everything that's in your history. So thank you. We'll take a break. Stay with us on this